I did have to mute it right there because I don't think there's a truck in my neighborhood that has a working muffler. Yay. Hi and welcome back to It's America Beauty. My name is Brandy and I am a consumer viewpoint review channel. Today is Full Face Friday. And my Full Face Friday, sometimes I do a theme, like today is Full Face Something New. Other times I do a full face of one brand or a one brand makeup tutorial. Today is a couple new releases with a lot of other things kind of sprinkled in between. One of the new releases is the Natasha Denona Glam Palette. I wanted this so bad. It worked out that I ended up getting some birthday money for it and I am so excited. And then I also did get the Nars Soft Matte CompleteFoundation. So we are going to try these out today. There were some wins and there were some losses, and most of the losses were not due to the product itself. It was due to error, it was due to reaction or something of the sort. There's one thing that did happen with the foundation during this that I kind of theorized wasn't the foundation's fault, but I gotta try it more to make sure. Being it's a matte foundation, I just have a theory on what might have happened. If you like new full face of new products, I hope that you will keep watching, and let's get started. And I am starting off with the Natasha Denona. This is the Glam Palette. It is a cool tone palette. It does look like this. I was able to get this at Sephora in person today. It had previously been online only. I did prime my eyes with the Boing Cakeless Concealer. This is a concealer brand new to me. I did get it with my points during the 21 Days of Beauty. So I am ready to go in with my shadow. One of the things I love about this palette is she literally names them for where they belong. So it will say, you know, outer lid, inner corner. It just is a really cool system, especially for someone that is not a makeup artist, that doesn't do that for a living. It's great to have some guidance as to where you go. So I am going to go into Crease. They actually have a really taupe shade called Crease. I do feel like all of her shadows, or at least vast majority of them, do have a lot of kick up. I actually tap in the kick up and try to use it versus just letting it blow away. We're paying enough for these shadows, we don't need to waste if we can help it. I also feel like her shadows aren't hard to blend, but they do take an extra second, but then they look fantastic. So like an example here is just a second ago that looked like garbage, and now it's on its way to being more acceptable or more, you know, defined and pretty. So I feel like with her shadows, you do gotta have a little bit of patience, but they're not difficult. They just take an extra minute. It's actually one thing I love about the Mini Gold is that is an exception for me. I actually can do a look in that in like 60 seconds and it'd be cute. So I do think that palette is an exception to that rule. Like Pat McGrath's is one that I feel like the minute you put it on, unless you just totally like mess it up, it looks amazing every single time. I think that's a really pretty taupe, cool toned shade. So that is our Crease shade. I did skip, she does have one in here called Transition Shade. I did skip that since I did set my eyes. I forgot to tell you, I set my eyes with the Urban Decay Velvetizer. So I did skip that entirely. So next I'm going to go into Smoke. That is this brown right here. And Crease was right here. Sorry, I'm trying to get it not reflect. Crease was right here and Smoke is right here. So I did create almost like an L with this. I actually do that quite often and I did not plan to do that today, but it was like autopilot. My body just did it anyways. Probably muscle memory. That's a lot better. Okay, next I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna do this like, see, it's this shade right here is like a silvery and it calls it the outer eyelid. So I'm gonna go into that one. I'm using my finger. So it does look like that so far. Next, I'm going to do the inner corner. I think I'm going to also do a silver for the center lid, and then inner corner has like a warmer silver. It does look like that so far. So next I'm going to go into the one that's called the center eyelid. It is a silvery shade. I will say that every one of these shimmers have been very easy to work with. I have not had any issues as far as their quality, as far as their blending. It's worked relatively well. I would have chose, had I swatched these together, I probably would have chose a different inner corner shade. So it doesn't clash, it just could look better. I do need to go back over with that Smoke shade. I do feel like all the blending has kind of taken that deeper tone away from the corner. That looks a lot better to me. And then it does have a shade they call the Lash Line. Now, I actually brought a really brown, it's actually the Dagger by KVD Vegan Beauty. I brought that to do a brown liner, but I think I'm going to try this shade that's called Lash Line. So it does look like that. It did take a little bit of work, especially in the front section. It just didn't blend perfectly, but so it does look like that. So I'm going to add more underneath and do some more to the eyes in just a minute, but first we're going to move on to complexion. For primer, I have two Laura Mercier. I have the hydrating and I have the blurring. This is a silicone-free blurring. I did receive both of these in gratis. So I'm going to try the hydrating one first and then add the blurring where I need it. Because I am using a matte foundation, I want to make sure that my skin is in peak hydration, including my under eye. I know some people don't use primer on their under eye. I do. I feel like when I don't, you can tell. I mean, even on the camera, or maybe especially in the camera, I feel like on the videos that I don't prime under my eyes, you can see it. Okay. So that is the hydrating one, and that is the Pure Canvas primer line, but it's in the hydrating. Next, I'm going to do the Pure Canvas blurring primer. I'm only going to use this where I need it. It does not feel silicone-y at all. It almost feels like the e.l.f. Putty Primer. It feels very firming to my skin. Like my skin doesn't feel as slick or as slippery as it did with the hydrating primer. And again, this is the Pure Canvas Primer, the blurring, and it's silicone-free. It does look like that. Next, I have the Nars Soft Matte CompleteFoundation. It does look like this. And the bottle is very different from the other Nars products, and you may have already seen this. There's a million videos up of it. However, this is the Nars Soft Matte Foundation. They do also have a Soft Matte Concealer, which I do own. However, I'm not using it in this video because I'm doing a full face and something new, and I have had that for a very long time. It's actually one of my favorite that I forgot about and I'm using again now. It does have dimethicone in it. Says a new take on matte, comfortable 16-hour wear, full natural looking coverage, true color oxidation resistant.
Down for that.
Transfer proof, shine proof, normal, combination, and oily skin types, non-comedogenic, dermatologist tested. Enjoy instructions to use a small amount starting in the center of the face and work outward. So let's do it that way. I'm gonna put it on the back of my hand and I will slowly put it on my face. I did shake it just to be safe. It did not say that, but I did do it just to kind of make sure I was getting it. Whenever I use a matte foundation, I do try to use a very moisturizing primer. I find that it definitely makes a big difference in the priming when you have dry skin. Probably all skin types, but the dry skin in particular. I can use a moisturizer and then put on a matte and it just doesn't look the same. I will say, holy coverage so far. I just put that little bit in the middle and I'm working it out just like it said. I am in the shade Mont Black. I almost switched to Yukon while I was there. However, the Yukon was just way too pink toned, even for my pink salmon self. So far I think it looks really good. I mean, it's just one layer. So I'm going to put a little bit more. It is a pretty runny consistency. Like I'm just going to show you on the back of my hand. It is pretty runny. This is something to keep in mind. It's the Sheer Glow is very runny and liquidy, but it's a light coverage. This one is supposed to, I believe, be full coverage if I remember correctly. My phone is currently updating to 14 right now, iOS 14, so I do not have it out here. I will say, for a forehead, holy cow, that looks really good. I don't see anything crazy so far. A lot of times my forehead, the very first warning sign is my forehead and my nose that looks very dry. I do feel like it dries relatively fast. Like I feel like some of the places I place foundation are already starting to dry. So something to keep in mind so you don't put it everywhere like I just did and then have to worry about blending before it dries. I am going to do a second coat on my nose and on my cheeks right here. I would equate these to, the first one was probably half a pump, the second one was probably a pump and a half, and I would say that is probably what I would call a half a pump. So just for perspective as to how much foundation I'm using. But I am really impressed with the finish of this foundation. It's definitely, as they refer to it, as a soft matte. Again, I would call it a natural matte is what my brain would go to, but it's definitely a very pretty foundation. And honestly, I think it's very easy to blend as well. Just so you know too, I wipe off my entire wand before I tap, so those aren't big taps. It's actually a really small amount. One thing I noticed I'm getting wrinkly in is my upper lip right here. It's not noticeable till I wear a matte foundation, and usually after I wear it a little while and my natural oils come through and the foundation cures, it's not noticeable. But I'm not wrinkling a lot anywhere else. Like, why there? Like, that's so noticeable. Do you have any weird wrinkly areas? Hoping I'm not alone, asking for a friend. Okay, my nose looks 100% better after that. I do my under eye last because I want it to have a chance to set in and some of the pigment to increase. I do think this works really well. I had used the pot one of the Boing, and I did not like that one. I do not have a color corrector on. I did put a little bit of foundation under my eye, but I don't have a color corrector on, and my eyes don't look overly dry. So to me, that is a win-win situation. So I did bring two powders I have never used before. I have Natasha Denona Invisible HD Face Powder and the Velvetizer. So I'm going to try the Natasha Denona first. I have never, ever, ever even seen a review of this. Forehead, because I actually don't want to over powder since it's matte. Putting just a little bit of Velvetizer on. I want to try to see, this is a microfine powder, and I want to see if I can get a little bit better coverage. Will say, I think I like the Velvetizer powder better. The Natasha Denona definitely wasn't bad at all. Don't have a problem with it. But the Velvetizer just made my skin really silky. Now I'm going into bronzer slash contour. I say that only because this shade is a bit cool. This is the I Love Revolution Bronze and Glow. It does look like that. I've never used this, and I didn't honestly know it existed until a little while ago. I was at Ulta, and I was kind of perusing the brand new, or at least it's newer, at our store locally, I Love Revolution section. I had bought the avocado palette a while ago before they actually had a section. It was just on one of the, like those little stands in the center aisles. And I really didn't love that one. It wasn't my favorite. It had some cool greens, qualities give or take. But it wasn't my favorite I've ever used. It, however, introduced me to the brand. Grabbing my Morphe fan brush. Is it Morphe? Nope, this is a different one. This is the Makeup Institute. I have a Morphe one just like this. That's funny. I wonder if I've ever grabbed it and called it the Morphe when it wasn't. Because the only reason I noticed it is because it had cursive writing, and Morphe doesn't have any cursive. I'm just kind of tapping a really light layer of this around to take away any of the centerpiece being ultra white. I have blush, and this is the Tarte Blush Bliss palette. I got this on sale from Tarte over the summer and kept meaning to grab it and kept forgetting, so today was the perfect time to do it. So it does look like that. It has some really pretty shades in it. And since we have a cool tone, I'm going to use this first almost kind of beigey blush, but then I'm going to go over it with one of them that's sparkly afterward. One thing about Tarte, they definitely have the pigment. Their blushes always have good pigment. I've only run into one that I could say had questionable pigment, but it was like literally the palest shade I've ever seen in my entire life. So I don't know if it had no pigment or if it didn't even show up on my totally pink skin. I'm ultra fair and then I'm pink. If it was a pink blush, then I wonder if that's what could have happened. So next, there is one called, that was called Genuine. Graceful is a shimmery one. I think that's the only shimmery one in here. I'm going to very lightly tap and just add a little bit to kind of deepen it up a little bit. Just add a little bit of color around. So that is the Tarte Blush Bliss palette. Last I checked, they did still have that. I don't know about today, but they did still have that as of recently. Next, I got this in my Allure beauty box, and this is the Floss in Sunlit. I think it was Allure. Was it Allure? I'm pretty sure it was the Allure beauty box. It was last month. It was in August, I believe. This gives me, not the exact same, but almost gives me the Natasha Denona vibes of the single highlighter she has. I forget what she calls that, but I own it and it almost reminds me of that as far as how it is definitely glowy. Whenever I use a matte foundation, I always want to make sure that I am using something to kind of bring back the dimension. So I always use contour bronzer. I always use blush. So another new one to me is the All Nighter Ultra Glow. It does look like this. Smells the exact same as the original. Feel like it looks any glowier? Maybe you can let me know in the comments if you think it looks any glowier, because I do not. I think it looks the exact same. Full transparency, I'm using one product that I use every single time, and that is lash primer. This is not new. I don't have any new ones. I wasn't gonna buy a new one for this, to be honest. So I did just do my brows off camera. This is the Ferocious, what is it called? Ferocious Brow and Pencil in Blonde from the Balm. Does look like that. And then I did a brow gel from Wander, and this is a clear brow gel. Honestly, I got this in a box, I think Ipsy last month. I like the way that makes my brows look. I think it does a really good job. So I'm going to curl my lashes, and I'm going to put on my lash primer, and then we'll pick back up there. Okay, again, I did use the Voluminous. This is the lash primer, and I was off for quite a while because I lost coverage on my nose. I'm not sure if it was a reaction to the setting spray, if it was a reaction to powder, but I literally had to peel and wipe away all the foundation right here and redo it, and it still looks like garbage. I am not holding that foundation responsible yet because I have a feeling it was the setting spray because it's matte and it's dewy and or glowy, so maybe that was it. I am going to try that again without the same combination and see what happens then. But if you see any craziness on my nose, that is why. It just doesn't look the same. My face feels powdery again because I did have to re-powder. So before I do my mascara, I am going to go back into this palette, and I'm going to grab that Smoke shade. I'm only going to put this on the outer portion of my lower lash line and my lid that I already did. I'm just touching it up. Now I'm going to go into that lash line shade. I'm just going to deepen it up a little bit. Then I'm going to take another really tiny brush. It does look like this. Just a little tiny packing brush, and I am going to grab that inner corner shade I used. I'm not sure about my mascara because I've never used it before, and I really am into tubing mascaras now. I'm not sure how that's going to look. So now I want to do my inner corner. I think what I'm going to do is there's one called Brow Bone. I'm going to put that in the inner corner and then up on the brow bone as well. So it does look like that. Next, I'm going to do mascara, and this is the Go Big or Go Home by KVD Vegan Beauty. Actually, kind of impressed with that. It's one coat. Definitely you can tell the difference between the two. It's got a big brush, which I love. I would say this is on par with my Hourglass, which is a tubing mascara. So that is very interesting to me. And that is what two coats look like. Honestly, I'm very impressed. So it does look like that. Next, I'm going to do, this is a pure lip liner. It's on point in Low Key. I did get this in my Pure mystery bag. Next, I'm going in with the Anastasia Dead Roses. This is a trial size I got in like a gift pack at Ulta when I purchased a palette. let's talk about the full face. I think, you know, what worked, what didn't. So I'm going to save the palette for last. It is something I just like to do. I like to do the palette last. That way I can go into detail. And if someone doesn't want to see it, they already own it, they can skip it. So first things I want to say is the hydrating primer I liked more than the blurring primer. I think they both worked well, but I do like this one better. I'm having issues in this area right here, which is not abnormal for me, but today I think it's because I did have to double powder when I had the air on my nose. So I'm not going to judge any of the face products too harsh in this area. The rest of my face looks really good. Like, I'm not having any issues. I mean, my forehead creases, no matter what, I'm never going to judge a foundation or powder or primer over that, but I do think that it looks good. So first impression are these are really good. Honestly, I'm going to try these a lot more. The Nars Soft Matte CompleteFoundation, I, as with every matte I've ever purchased in my entire life, have to play with this. So I'm not sure if the nose issue was because of the foundation or if it was because of user error or a powder that didn't mix or what it was. So I'm leaving judgment on the table until I can try this more. So next is the Benefit Boingless Cakeless Concealer. Honestly, I'm really impressed with this. More than one person had told me to try it. More than one person had said I would love it, and they were right. I think it looks really good. I have no color corrector on. Between the Nars full coverage and this, I have very little shadow under my eye, which I think is beautiful. Powders. We have the Urban Decay Velvetizer and we have the Natasha Denona Invisible HD Face Powder. I do think I like this better. This one does remind me of Fenty. It's very finely milled, does have a very easy to work with, easy to dust off. The Natasha Denona, that's another one I'm going to reserve judgment. Today, I don't love where it's at and how it looks, but I also think there was a lot going on today with my foundation, so I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm going to be trying this. I do have a full face of Natasha Denona coming. Again, I'm going to try this again, maybe even tomorrow. I don't know, but I'm going to try this again. The I Love Revolution Bronze and Glow. Again, that looks like that, and the front does look like that. Bronzer, honestly, I think is absolutely gorgeous. Tarte, this was the Blush Bliss. It did look like this. I thought both of these shades worked fantastic. I have no criticism, no complaints, no anything. I am a fan of Tarte's formula, so that one did work for me. Floss, I liked it. I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite thing I've ever used. It does kind of remind me of the Natasha Denona, but it's not an exact dupe. So definitely liked it. It just wasn't my favorite in the whole world. Brows. This one is a little bit hard to work with. I literally had to kind of dig into my brows to get it. I finally gave up and just used the Wander Beauty. First one was the Ferocious Brow Pencil by the Balm, and then I had the Clear Brow Gel by Wander, and this one was much better and I honestly really liked. Last few items before the palette. Mascara. Holy cow, am I impressed. I have no anything other than the mascara and a primer on it, and I think it's looking really well. It does look like the lashes might fall eventually, so I may have to actually mix this with something, but I do like this formula. The lip liner by Pure, fine, it's buttery, it works well, no complaints. And then the Anastasia Bullet Lipstick. These to me are very drying. They're very just, my lip doesn't feel like it has any moisture left in it. It just feels very drying. So due to the dryness, it's just not my favorite formula. For me, Anastasia nails it in brows. I love their foundation, actually. I honestly really love their eyeshadow palettes. I could do without the kick up. They are more powdery than some other brands and a more softer texture, but I do love them. Their lip products are a no for me. Their liquid lips are so dry, they're hard to use. Their bullet lipsticks are very dry, and their lipsticks or lip glosses are just too sticky. It just doesn't, I just don't care for it. So I don't usually reach for these. I wouldn't purchase them, but I did receive this free and it fit video's theme, so I did go ahead and use it. So the only things left is the setting spray, which is the Ultra Glow by Urban Decay. Another one I'm reserving judgment. Initially I liked it, I thought it was working well, but as it settled it did cause separation on my nose, or I theorized that's what caused the separation, and I did have to redo this entire area, which did affect the quality and the look. And this is another one I'm going to try again. I think next time I will use the regular Urban Decay. That is my holy grail, my favorite setting spray. I will use the regular one and save this for when I'm giving a glowy, either no powder look or just something that is glowy. So last of all, let's talk about the Natasha Denona Glam Palette. So this palette is, I believe it was $65. I almost said 55, but I'm pretty sure it was 65. And this is her first cool toned palette. It is not 100% cool toned. On some of the pictures I did look at, it did look like it had 100%. It is not, but that is perfect for me. I think that some of the warmer shades, especially this gold over here, is just stunning. I think it's really beautiful, and I think it will mix with the cool tones very well. As far as application, as far as like performance, I think they look amazing. I'm really impressed with them. I actually am really satisfied with this purchase. So far, I've not been that disappoint with any of my Natasha Denona palettes. The one that I don't love and I just seriously struggle with is the Retro Mini palette. I'm hoping that I can find a way to make that work. I do love my mini palettes, and that is one that I just am, it muddies every time I use it. But if this one, I see 3 distinct shades. It did not muddy whatsoever. I think it looks fantastic, and I can't wait to keep trying it. This probably is going to make me break my Pan Those Miraculous palettes because I am freaking loving it. So I might have to use Pan Those Miraculous palettes is my brightest, which is the Wired palette by Urban Decay. I might have to put some bright colors with this and see what I can do. So if you like Full Face Friday, if you like foundation reviews, if you like eyeshadow reviews, I hope that you will like, share, subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell because I do upload Full Face Friday every single Friday, and I do makeup minutes on Monday. Wednesdays tend to vary, unboxings, other stuff. So if that's something you're interested in, I hope you do ring that bell. I do appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a fantastic evening.